When my stomach problems flared up, Robert kicked me out of the car. It was because I was interrupting his conversation and laughter with Jessica. He ignored my plea, even slowly rolling up the car window, muttering, "Annoying." I ended up in the hospital with a perforated stomach ulcer. I called Robert over a dozen times, but he instantly rejected every call. I turned my head and saw a familiar figure in the hospital hallway, carefully assisting Jessica, who was bouncing around. "My dear girl, be careful, don't fall and hurt the baby." Later, after I recovered and was discharged, I traveled alone to Grand Teton National Park for 7 days. Robert, who I hadn't heard from in over 10 days, suddenly started calling me like crazy. "Sarah, why haven't you been checking up on me these days?" After returning from Grand Teton National Park, I answered Robert's 39th call. "Sarah, your location shows you're not home. Where did you go?" A barrage of questions came at me. I didn't reply. I calmly walked out of the airport. When Robert came to pick me up, he walked right over and took my suitcase. His face was cold, with a hint of mockery. "I thought you were running away from home like some people. But you came back looking defeated after just a few days. The wedding is in a few days. I'm busy lately and don't have time to look after you. Just stay put and don't run off." As he spoke, he casually pulled out a cigarette and lit it in the car. I couldn't help but frown and turned to open the car window. Cold air rushed in. I took a deep breath and said calmly, "Let's go to the wedding planner's office." Counting the days, the wedding invitations should be ready. Robert scoffed and stepped on the gas pedal, driving to the wedding planner's office. He refused to come inside, leaning against the doorway, smoking by himself, occasionally scrolling on his phone, a knowing smile on his face. The clerk brought out the wedding invitations. "Miss Sarah, your wedding invitations are ready." Robert turned his head for a look, his gaze landing on the bright red wedding invitations. "So tacky. Only you would like this bright red. It has no creativity." I didn't argue. I just quietly counted the invitations, then took out my phone and paid electronically for them. Just as I was about to speak, Robert's phone rang. Robert answered without hesitation. A sweet, overly affected voice came through. "Poor little me has to go for my prenatal checkup alone again. I wonder if Robert has time to come with me." Robert hung up the phone, pulled the car keys from his pocket, and left me with a cold remark. "You can manage perfectly fine here by yourself. I have a little something first, I'm leaving." It wasn't a question, just a notification. He was certain I would comply or accept. He drove off without looking back. I looked up at the clerk. "I've paid for these invitations. You can just throw them away. And cancel all the other parts too. No need to continue with the design." The clerk paused, looking a bit troubled. "But Miss Sarah, we're already halfway through the design. If you cancel, the deposit can't be refunded." "Don't worry about the refund." After leaving the office, I suddenly remembered the wedding dress should be canceled too. After canceling everything, I went into a diner, ordered a bowl of my favorite noodles, and started editing an Instagram post. I had taken lots of beautiful photos at Grand Teton National Park these past few days, all worth commemorating on Instagram. I put together a 9-photo grid and added 2 words, "fulfilled." Many people liked my post, including Jessica. Soon, one of her Instagram posts popped up. The picture showed Robert's profile, looking focused. The caption read, "Promise to spend a lifetime together. Thank you to my childhood friend Robert for coming with me to my prenatal checkup again." Comments poured in below it. I casually liked it too, then put down my phone and focused on eating my noodles. A few minutes later, my phone suddenly rang. It was Robert calling. I casually rejected the call, but he was unusually persistent and called again, so I had to answer. "Sarah, you went to Grand Teton National Park alone?" His voice was low, still carrying a hint of annoyance. "Didn't we agree I'd go with you after we got married? How can you, a woman alone, travel so far? Aren't you worried about the danger?" The background noise on the call was loud. Occasionally, I could hear a nurse calling out a patient's name. Robert must have been at the hospital. I said calmly, there's no danger. I just went because I wanted to. Hearing his presumptuous concern now, I felt nothing inside. In our 8 years of dating, I had brought up going to Grand Teton National Park every year. It was my mom's dying wish. But every single time, Robert rejected me with various excuses. Sarah, I'm too busy right now. I'll go with you after things calm down. Something came up with my family. Let's go next year. No time. By the time I brought it up last year, he didn't even need to find an excuse anymore. He could reject me directly, without even hiding his impatience. And I was already tired of this endless waiting. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up now. Without waiting for Robert to answer, I decisively hit the red hang-up button and felt a sense of relief. That night, I was in the study, hunched over my laptop. Robert suddenly threw a piece of clothing at my face. Sarah, can you please clean up your stuff? You leave your dirty clothes everywhere. The cold ornament on it was sharp enough to cut my face, causing a fine, stinging pain. I picked it up from under the sofa. Keep your own things tidy. Don't let this happen again. I looked down at the sexy, revealing low-cut nightgown and said coldly, "That's not mine." Robert's expression shifted slightly. He suddenly realized something and looked a bit flustered. He helped pick it up from the floor and hid it behind him. Jessica must have left it behind when she stayed over last time. I'll give it back to her later. I didn't say anything and went back to focusing on my laptop. But Robert, looking apologetic, pulled an expired Band-Aid from a medicine box. He sat down carefully beside me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't see there was something sharp on it. The smell of the Band-Aid made me feel nauseous. I moved away directly. It's nothing. Then I took my laptop and went back to the bedroom. Robert stood there frozen, staring blankly at my retreating figure. He stood there for a long time. Sarah, why haven't you been checking up on me these days? And I feel like something is different about you. It's like you're avoiding me. Robert pushed the door open, still surrounded by the steam from his shower. He raised a towel to dry the water droplets from his hair, seemingly casually complaining to me. My hands paused. I suddenly remembered that in our 8 years of dating, we talked or called almost every day. Even when things were busiest, we never lost touch. I thought he was a part of my everyday life. But Robert was especially resistant, saying I was checking up on him. Now, opening our chat log, the last conversation was half a month ago. Even though this relaxed distance was exactly what Robert wanted, he was complaining about it. I smiled. You're overthinking it. I've been busy lately. I can't always be a bother to you. Get some rest. Saying that, I closed my laptop, picked up a pillow, and headed towards the study. Although we had been together for 8 years, we'd been living separately for 6 months. I didn't like the smell of smoke. Robert had quit smoking for me and stuck with it for 3 years. But as soon as Jessica came back, all that effort went to waste. Jessica was his childhood friend and the unforgettable first love in his heart. They openly slept in the same bed, claiming they'd always done so since they were kids. When I was sick with a fever and needed him most, one phone call from Jessica was enough to make Robert leave. At first, I was jealous and resentful. I hated my boyfriend for having a childhood friend like that. But now, my heart was calm. Even if the baby Jessica is carrying is his, I don't care anymore. After all, I had decided to leave. Watching my determined retreating back, Robert suddenly panicked. Sarah! He called out to me. I rinsed my mouth tonight, got rid of the smoke smell. How about we sleep together? Seeing my indifference, Robert got up and hugged me from behind. Sarah, we're getting married in half a month anyway. Haven't you always wanted a home? A home? My eyes welled up slightly. Yes, I'd wanted a home for these past 8 years. Because my mom passed away early from illness, I lacked a sense of security and belonging and desperately wanted to build our own little family with Robert. But I later found out that Robert's life was destined to be chaotic. Forever entangled with Jessica. If the rest of my life was destined to be like this, I'd rather not have this home. I sniffled, pushed Robert's hand away. We'll see. Then I walked out of the bedroom and closed the door. The resignation letter I wrote late last night, I handed it in first thing in the morning. My boss called me into the office to talk. He had always taken good care of me and helped me get promoted step by step over the years. He was puzzled when he heard I was leaving. Sarah, are you in some kind of trouble? Why do you have to resign? I smiled. I want to move to a different city. My boss understood and didn't ask further. He quickly approved my resignation. My colleagues, who I was close with, were sad to see me go. They wanted to take me out for dinner after work. We got downstairs from the office and it was damp. It had started raining sometime earlier. As I was waiting for a ride with my colleagues, suddenly someone called my name from behind. Sarah! A black Audi was parked not far away. Robert slowly rolled down the car window. His eyes fell on my wet hair, and he frowned. Get in. I came to pick you up. I didn't move. From the passenger side came a giggle. Sarah, see? I told you Robert loves you so much. Coming to pick you up in the rain, I'm practically dying of envy. Noticing I was looking at her expressionlessly, Jessica explained with a smile. Oh, I didn't bring an umbrella today, and Robert just happened to give me a ride. You don't mind, do you? I chuckled. Not at all. I still had no intention of getting in the car. After waiting for a while, Robert became impatient. Just as he was about to say something, the ride my colleague called arrived. My colleague and I got into the car one after the other. As I closed the car door, Robert's voice came through urgently. Sarah, I came specifically to pick you up. Where are you going? I replied calmly. I have something else to do. My colleague is going the same way, so I won't be going home yet. Then I rolled up the car window, and we drove away from his sight. While eating spicy food with my colleagues, Robert called me multiple times, becoming a real nuisance. I silenced my phone and flipped it face down, continuing chatting and laughing with my colleagues. After dinner, my colleague's husband came to pick her up. Sarah, why don't my husband give you a ride home? I shook my head and smiled. No, thank you. You go on ahead. I sat in the restaurant, continuing to eat the spicy food. When Robert came looking for me, he was completely soaked. He didn't have his tag-along anymore. He looked lonely and pathetic. He came in, his eyes landing on the spicy pot, and he frowned. Sarah, you can't handle spicy food, can you? Eat less, or you'll get an upset stomach again. I didn't stop eating. I shoveled a mouthful of tripe into my mouth. It was so spicy, it almost brought tears to my eyes. But I smiled. After 8 years of dating, he still didn't know I love spicy food. Because Robert would get mouth sores on his lips whenever he ate spicy food, to make it easier on him, I had practically given up spicy food. I only ever ate spicy food to satisfy myself when I was out alone or with colleagues. The one who gets an upset stomach from spicy food is Jessica. After eating, Robert insisted on driving me home. The atmosphere in the car was heavy the whole way. Robert seemed to be sulking, and I couldn't be bothered to coax him anymore. I put on my Bluetooth earbuds and continued listening to my podcast. After I don't know how long, Robert suddenly spoke. Sarah, I've been neglecting you these past few days because Jessica just got pregnant, and her boyfriend overseas isn't taking care of anything. We grew up together, our bond is deeper than others. She's like a sister to me, and I can't help but worry about her more. As he said this, his fingers tightened on the steering wheel. I could tell he was a bit nervous, especially when he mentioned Jessica. I remembered 2 months ago, Robert's phone's notes app, which he barely used, was filled with a pregnancy preparation checklist. There were 2 columns, one for the pregnant woman, one for the baby. I also remembered that when I brought up future marriage and family plans, mentioning having a child, Robert looked completely impatient. I don't have time for kids. No plans for pregnancy within the next 5 years. But when it came to Jessica, all his boundaries could be moved. The podcast had just moved on to the next episode. I casually switched it and nodded. After all, your childhood friends. It's understandable you'd worry more. Robert paused, turning to look at me in disbelief. You really don't mind? Normally, every time Jessica was involved, we would argue endlessly and it would always end badly. But now that my attitude was indifferent, Robert was the one who felt uncomfortable. I couldn't help but laugh. What is there to mind? After all, I had quit my job. Tomorrow I'm selling my apartment, and then I can leave the city for good. Nothing here matters to me anymore. Robert doesn't matter anymore either. When we got home, Robert handed me a beautiful gift box. Sarah, I've neglected you these past few days. Once things calm down, I'll spend proper time with you. Our wedding is in half a month. Have you thought about where you want to go for our honeymoon? Seeing I didn't take it, Robert opened the gift box himself. Inside was an old-fashioned gold necklace. Just on the way here, I happened to scroll past Jessica's Instagram post. Ugh, Robert. Even though it's a gold necklace, it's so tacky. I wouldn't wear it even if you threw it away. But thankfully, my childhood friend Robert quickly bought me one I like better to make up for it. That necklace she called so tacky it was ready to be thrown away was the one in Robert's hand. I didn't take it. I picked up a towel and went into the bathroom. I'm too tired today. Let's talk about it another time. I lingered in the bathroom for an hour and a half. After putting on a face mask and doing my skincare routine, I came out. Robert was still awake, sitting on the balcony in a lounge chair, smoking. His eyes were distant as he looked out at the city lights from the window. He was probably thinking about Jessica again, who wasn't with him. I didn't pay attention to him. I threw away the face mask and went back to bed. Half asleep in a dream, I felt like someone was sitting on the edge of my bed, gently calling my name and trying to kiss me. As soon as I smelled smoke, I frowned, pushed the person away in annoyance, and rolled over to continue sleeping. When I woke up the next day, Robert had already gone to the office. After breakfast, I met with an agent from the real estate agency to sell the apartment. The apartment we were living in was one I'd bought outright with 5 years of savings. It was premarital property I intended to keep for myself. At the time, Robert was broke and couldn't even afford the rent. Later, he just moved in with me. Over the years, his company did better and better. He never suggested moving out. When I asked him, he just smiled and said, "We've built something special here, Sarah. How about we get married here too?" I thought he had other uses for his money, like running his company. Until I found out that when Jessica came back and had nowhere to live, Robert waved his hand and just bought her a mansion by the sea. The price was over 10 times what my apartment cost. Since I was leaving, the apartment that belonged to me should be sold. The apartment had a good location, and interested buyers contacted me quickly. That night, I made a meal and waited for Robert to come home. It was time to talk things through, say a proper goodbye, and end these 8 years together. But just as Robert sat down, and I was about to speak, his phone rang. "Robert, my stomach hurts so much. Can you take me to the hospital?" Robert instantly panicked, grabbed his jacket, and ran out. Jessica accidentally fell and hurt her stomach. It's a matter of life and death. I have to go see her. I paused and laughed to myself, a self-mocking laugh. Then I ate the meal alone, and had someone pack up all of Robert's personal belongings and ship them to his office. Robert didn't come home that night. Late that night, Jessica posted on Instagram. The photo showed Robert dozing off by her hospital bed. "Thanks to my Mr. Wonderful, the baby will definitely call him daddy first when they're born." I immediately exited the app, deleted her, and blocked her. The next day, the transaction with the buyer was completed quickly. I changed the locks and left the city for good. 3 days later, Robert accompanied Jessica home from the hospital. On the way, Robert saw someone selling flowers and stopped without thinking. He bought a large bouquet of vibrant red roses. Jessica smiled and took them. "How did you know I like roses?" Robert took a step back. "They're not for you." Jessica's smile froze. He seemed to remember something and chuckled. "They're for Sarah. She hasn't been crying or making a fuss lately, and I'm very pleased. Consider it a little reward for her." But when he took the flowers home, he couldn't open the door. Robert frowned. Sarah? Sarah? Soon, the door opened. Robert chuckled, but his smile froze the next second. A stranger poked their head out and looked him up and down. Who are you? Robert's face darkened. I should be asking who you are. This is my home. Where's Sarah? Saying this, he tried to push his way in, but he was stopped. What do you think you're doing, trespassing? This is the apartment I just bought. You must be looking for the previous owner, right? She sold the place. Didn't you know? Robert froze. He looked up at the place he'd lived for 8 years, completely redecorated. He looked completely shaken. No, how is that possible? I was just living here 3 or 4 days ago. This is our home, my wife's and mine. We lived here for 8 years. The person chuckled mockingly. Buddy, you aren't dependent on your wife, are you? The previous owner of this apartment was a young woman. She decided to leave this place, that's why she sold it. I suggest you go find your wife first. And with that, the person pushed him outside and slammed the door shut. Robert was completely bewildered and couldn't accept what was happening. Sarah, what kind of game are you playing? He took out his phone and quickly called me, but it kept saying the other party was unreachable. He opened a social media app and tried to message me. As soon as he sent it, a red exclamation mark appeared. Robert's face went pale. Blocked me. Sarah, what in the world are you doing? Only then did he belatedly realize something was seriously wrong. He paced around anxiously. Suddenly remembering something, he called my old workplace. Hello? I'm Sarah's boyfriend. She blocked me. I need to talk to her. Tell her to pick up. My colleague was silent for a moment, then her voice came through, sounding confused. Sarah resigned last week. Didn't you know? The bouquet of flowers in Robert's hand clattered to the ground. The fact he hadn't believed was slowly approaching the harsh truth. Sarah, she really left? He gripped his phone tightly, veins bulging on the back of his hand. No, that's impossible. We're getting married in less than half a month. How could she resign without telling me? We've been in this city for 10 years. Where could she go if she left? He questioned repeatedly, sounding like he was talking to himself. But my colleague scoffed. Boyfriend? You don't care about Sarah at all. If I had a boyfriend like you, I would have kicked him to the curb ages ago. And put up with him for 8 years? And getting married? Sarah was depressed every day because of your nonsense. How dare you even mention it? I'm blocking your number right now. Don't call again, or I'll make you regret it. My colleague hung up quickly. No matter how many times he tried to call back, it wouldn't connect. When my colleague messaged me about it, I had just gotten off the plane, arriving in Willow Creek. Seeing the message, I smiled to myself. Blocking him is fine. Just ignore him. Then I turned off my phone and started my new life in Willow Creek. I settled quickly in Willow Creek. I rented a nice apartment, spent my days growing flowers and vegetables, living a slow-paced life. I no longer missed my life with Robert in the city. Nor did I care about romantic love anymore. My savings from the past 10 years were enough for me to live comfortably in this town for the rest of my life. Without me in the way, Robert didn't have to sneak around anymore. He could be openly with his childhood friend Jessica. How great! I just didn't expect Robert to find me half a month later. When he showed up in the town of Willow Creek, he looked very haggard. I was just on my way to give my elderly neighbor some vegetables I'd just grown and planned to pretend I didn't see him. But unexpectedly, he suddenly rushed towards me. He grabbed my wrist, his eyes bloodshot. Sarah, what does this mean, leaving without a word, without saying goodbye? You sold the apartment without telling me, and you canceled the entire wedding. Why did you do this? I pulled free from his grip and said calmly. The apartment was mine, and it's my freedom to sell it. Besides, you're the great Mr. Robert. It's not like you can't afford to buy an apartment, right? I heard from his assistant that when I shipped all his personal belongings to his office, they piled up like a small mountain. There was a lot of talk in the office, saying Mr. Robert had been kicked out by his wife. and Robert's face looked worse than ever. Now, Robert's face was terrifyingly pale. He kept staring at me. We were about to get married. What does it mean that you suddenly left and canceled the wedding? I sighed softly. Robert, we broke up. After Jessica appeared, especially after she kept contacting Robert late at night because she was pregnant, I had suggested breaking up more than once. But at that time, Robert was too arrogant, convinced I couldn't leave him, so he just brushed it off as a joke. I remembered that time half a month ago when my stomach problems flared up, and I begged Robert to take me to the hospital. But Robert ignored my plea. He resented me for interrupting his conversation and laughter with Jessica. He coldly said, "Annoying," and kicked me out of the car. It was hard to get a cab late at night. I endured the pain and waited for a long time until an ambulance took me to the hospital. Later, while I was in the hospital, I called Robert, wanting him to bring me a charger. He instantly rejected all dozen calls. Turning my head, I saw him in the hospital hallway, carefully assisting Jessica. "My dear girl, be careful, don't fall and hurt the baby." Perhaps that was when I completely gave up hope. I brought up breaking up with him for the last time. After that, I traveled alone to Grand Teton National Park for 7 days. But Robert pretended not to notice and simply ignored the breakup, then bombarded me with questions about where I had gone. Looking back now, it was all truly ridiculous, yet Robert insisted we hadn't broken up. He even announced our relationship on Instagram for the first time. In half a month, my girlfriend and I are getting legally married. All friends and family are welcome to attend our wedding. I read it, feeling a mix of emotions. In our 8 years of dating, I had asked him more than once to post photos of me on Instagram, at least so the people around him would know he had a girlfriend. Robert always refused to post them. Later on, he would just get impatient whenever I brought it up. "Sarah, are you being childish? The people who know us know you're my girlfriend. There's no need to show off to strangers. When we get married, we'll just make it official. And everyone will know, right?" After he finished yelling at me, I never brought up posting on Instagram again. Even more so, because I accidentally overheard his conversation with Jessica. She doesn't deserve to be on my Instagram feed. If you hadn't gone overseas back then, how could I have possibly agreed to date her? Now, she's helped me too much. If I broke up with her, people would call me ungrateful. "Jessica, if you'd just come back, I could even call off the wedding with her." I didn't hear the rest. I went home feeling completely lost. I just couldn't understand how the person I had shared a bed with for years, the one who had gently and caringly rubbed my feet just days ago, could say such cold, harsh words. But in the end, seeing someone's true colors is a good thing. After that, I didn't have any expectations for Robert anymore. So when I sold the apartment and walked away, I didn't feel much sadness and could quickly start a new life. Now, seeing Robert's Instagram post, I didn't comment. I just opened my own Instagram feed and went public with photos of me and my new boyfriend. Clearing the air, my ex and I have broken up. Please meet my boyfriend, Ethan. After posting that on Instagram, my messages blew up. Many people congratulated me and sent their well wishes. More people were surprised. "Sarah, you and Robert dated for 8 years. We all thought your long-term relationship would last forever. How did it just end like that?" I chuckled softly and replied, "It's nothing. That toxic relationship is over, making way for my true match." That day, Ethan and I were ice skating. Suddenly a stranger requested to add me as a friend. I thought it was a customer from the flower shop, so I accepted. The person immediately sent a screenshot of a chat. It was exactly the conversation I had with my friend that day, where I said Robert and I were a toxic relationship. A voice call came through quickly. "Sarah, you've got some nerve. Didn't you say you'd love me forever back then? What, now that you have someone new, we're a toxic relationship?" Robert was filled with anger, seemingly wanting to vent it on me. But I couldn't be bothered to humor him. "Sorry, my boyfriend is calling me. I don't have time to chat." Saying that, I hung up. What I said about loving him forever was based on the premise that he loved me too. Robert might have forgotten, but there was another part to that sentence. Robert, if you ever stop loving me, or if you fall for someone else, you must tell me. We can part ways amicably. Never string me along, and don't you dare try to deceive me with sweet talk. Because if I find out, I'll make you regret it. I met Ethan when I opened my flower shop. He was gentle and refined, witty, and respectful of women. He was so much better than Robert. At the time, part of it was about distracting myself, but later, I rarely thought about Robert anymore. I realized then that hanging onto one tree means missing the beautiful forest outside. You might even miss the tree that's perfect for you. Tired? Have some water. Ethan handed me a bottle of water. And worried I might fall, he carefully held on to me. We were laughing and talking. Suddenly a figure strode over aggressively and swung violently towards Ethan. I looked up in surprise, meeting Robert's furious gaze. He pulled me into his arms, glaring at Ethan with mockery in his voice. Of all things to be, you had to be a homewrecker? Don't you know Sarah is my fiancé? We're getting legally married soon. Ethan is an amateur fitness coach. With his amateurish flailing and brute force, he was no match for Ethan at all. Before Ethan could even speak, I turned and shielded him behind me, unable to stop myself from snapping back. Ethan is my boyfriend. You've got your woman and kid, so stop making it SCE. And embarrassing yourself, okay? You're just a heartless ex who was fooling around with someone else while we were together, and you have the nerve to call someone else a homewrecker? Saying that, I took Ethan's hand, our fingers intertwined. Robert's face was pale. He glared at me. Sarah, you. Just then, a woman with a baby bump behind him slowly walked towards us. Jessica spoke in a cutesy, put-on voice, feigning pity. Sarah, Robert just saw that I'm a little pregnant woman all alone and helpless, and took care of me a few times. Are you jealous and angry about that? I told you there was nothing going on between us. Sarah, if you minded so much, why didn't you just tell me? If you had, I would have definitely kept my distance. But you ran off to Willow Creek without a word, canceled the wedding, and even hooked up with another man. Isn't that just slapping Robert in the face? I looked at the tour group behind her and couldn't help but scoff. You're that pregnant and you still insist on running around like this? Be careful, acting so wicked might make you lose the baby. Seeing them now, I just felt utterly disgusted. I didn't want anything to do with them anymore. Pulling Ethan, I turned to leave, but suddenly Robert grabbed my wrist again. Sarah! There was a hint of pleading in his eyes. I know you've been angry with me. Is it because I was too close to Jessica? I told you, the baby she's carrying isn't mine. Once she gives birth, I'll send her overseas, and then no one will bother you anymore. Sarah, come back with me. I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled my hand away with all my might. Mr. Robert, whatever your relationship is with others has nothing to do with me. Please stop being so presumptuous and bothering my boyfriend and me. He didn't know that on the very first day he arrived in Willow Creek with Jessica and the tour group, Jessica had already come to find me. She told me, smiling radiantly and utterly fearless. Sarah, thank you for clearing the way for me and giving the baby's father back to me. She said the baby she was carrying wasn't her boyfriend's at all, but was conceived with Robert one night when she was drunk. But Robert didn't know. She was going to give him a surprise. It turned out that back then, Robert had been determined to pursue Jessica. But Jessica was a gold digger. She left him when he was poor and struggling. Now that she saw he was rich, she came crawling back, saying she wanted to be Mrs. Robert. I couldn't stop myself from sneering. Jessica, have some dignity. Don't make yourself so cheap and ruin women's reputations. That incident completely disgusted me. Ever since coming to Willow Creek, I've been increasingly grateful that I made the decisive choice to leave back then, so I wouldn't be involved in such a mess. After living in Willow Creek for half a year, I became more and more used to this pace of life. Ethan was by my side. When we worked, we tended the shop. When we didn't feel like working, we could go sightseeing whenever we wanted. Ethan went with me to Grand Teton National Park twice. At the top of Grand Teton National Park, he held me gently in his arms, looking so tender. Sarah, will you let me take care of you for the rest of your life? I smiled and nodded. I always remembered what my mom told me when she was still alive. She had a fortune teller predict that my true match would be at Grand Teton National Park. But my home was very, very far from Grand Teton National Park. I needed to grow up and be able to earn money before I could get to Grand Teton National Park. I had even thought about taking my mom to Grand Teton National Park someday, so she could see my true match with her own eyes. Sadly, my mom passed away from illness very early on. Her dying wish was for me to go to Grand Teton National Park. So for years, I was convinced Robert was my true match and wanted to go to Grand Teton National Park with him. But I never expected that after all the twists and turns of fate, it was destined from the start. We dated for 8 years, and Robert could never find the time. And I gave up on him. Then I turned around, came to the foot of Grand Teton National Park, and met my true match. Ethan knelt on one knee at the summit, took out an exquisite diamond ring from his pocket, smiling brightly. Sarah, marry me. I nodded, wrapped my arms around his waist, and kissed him. The day we got legally married. Robert heard the news from somewhere and came running to stop me again. In the past half year, Robert had come to Willow Creek over a dozen times, just to force me to go back with him. He said it didn't matter that I sold the apartment, he would buy me the best mansion as our marital home. He also said he had wronged me over the years and would make it up to me little by little. He even pulled out the property deed and handed it to me with a look of devotion. Sarah, this is the best riverside estate. Only your name is on the deed, and it's been notarized. Come back with me. Will you marry me? In the half year since you left, I realized how important you are to me. I can't lose you. But I'm sorry. In the half year since I left you, I've been doing very, very well. I smiled and reached out to take it. Robert thought I agreed, and his eyes lit up. But unexpectedly, I spoke slowly. That's right. This mansion should be your compensation to me. After all, I gained nothing from all those years with you, I even lost a lot. Consider it compensation from our breakup. After all, I didn't ask for a single share of stock when his company started up. This mansion is worth millions. It's what I deserve. The day Ethan and I got legally married, I officially announced it on Instagram. Friends and family sent their congratulations and blessings. Robert, who I had clearly blocked and deleted, saw it somehow. He came to Willow Creek to find me again. In just 1 month, I don't know what he went through, but he looked like he had aged 10 years. He stood in the cold wind, coughing uncontrollably. When he saw me, he still stepped forward excitedly. Sarah, wait. I just want to ask you one question. If there hadn't been Jessica, would you still have left me? Or would you have married me, and none of this would have happened? I mused, perhaps yes, perhaps no. But there are no if-onlys in life. Regardless, Jessica appeared, and she was very important to you. Perhaps I should thank Jessica. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been able to see your true colors. After saying this, I took Ethan's hand and left. Robert stood there for a long, long time, until he became a small black dot in the distance and disappeared completely. The next time I heard news of Robert was 3 months later. I heard that after our last meeting, Robert was diagnosed with lung cancer. He had been a heavy smoker for a long time, and his lungs were already largely blackened. He knew his time was limited, and that last meeting was also his final farewell to me. As for Jessica, she was determined to become Mrs. Robert. To avoid being called a homewrecker, she went around telling everyone that the baby she was carrying was Robert's. It just so happened that her boyfriend, who had rushed back from overseas, found out. In a rage, he beat her severely, causing her to miscarry. It turned out that baby wasn't Robert's after all. The reason Jessica told me that was just to make me give up hope and leave Robert for good. And Robert also saw Jessica's true colors because of this. He took back the mansion under her name and all her privileges. To get revenge, Jessica actually replaced Robert's medication with sleep-ing pills. During a cancer relapse, Robert didn't receive timely treatment and passed away that night. Jessica was also arrested and imprisoned for replacing the medication and harming him. Learning all this now, I just found it absurd and lamentable. But it had nothing to do with me anymore. Ethan and I held a grand wedding in Willow Creek. Friends and family came to congratulate us and wish us a long and happy life together. After the successful wedding, I took Ethan to my mom's cemetery. Mom, I listened to you. I met my true match at Grand Teton National Park. He's my husband, Ethan. As soon as I said it, a cool breeze blew past, and the foxtail grass on the grave swayed cheerfully. I smiled. Mom, did you hear that? You like Ethan too, don't you? The cool breeze lingered. It turned out that a long, long time ago, my mom had already told me who my true match would be. Ethan and I held hands, our fingers intertwined. Don't worry, Mom. We'll be very happy together from now on.